Hey, what is up everybody? This is Paul, and in this video what I want to do is show you guys how to make a basic uplifting trance template in FL Studio, which will be a great starting point for all your tracks. Now the idea here isn't to be a template producer in the sense that you don't want to just have the same sounds and so all your tracks sound the same, but saving yourself time by doing all the routing ahead of time and keeping all the plugins there that you know you're probably going to use will save you a lot of time in the long run. And it definitely saved me a lot of time when I stopped starting from an empty template or an empty project each time and doing the same routing and spending hours doing all this stuff. So it's better to just do it now ahead of time, and then any of your new projects you just open this up and can kind of fill in the gaps, add your sounds, add your samples, add everything you want to do, and from there moving ahead. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and go minimal and create this from an empty project. So no, I don't want to save changes, and we're going to start by building these up. I like using these as instrument tracks, but you don't have to do that. And the idea is here, I'll have this available to download, but don't worry. I think it's better if you follow along with this video. That way you can actually kind of see all the stuff that I'm doing rather than having to do everything like just downloading my template and then being like, well, why is this routed this way? It's better if you do it yourself first so that you learn it, especially if you're like a new producer, or so that you can kind of adjust it the way you want to, because my template may not have the same routing or be right for you. Cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this first track as an audio track, and this is going to be my reference. So give this kind of a nice gray, and I'm just going to collapse that for now. So that's going to be that reference track. Now is what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a one for the kick. So I like using the sampler built in FL Studio for using all these drum samples because it's lightweight and it's easy to use. So this is actually under, where is it? Sampler. I guess it's there. Weird. So this is the kick. Give this a nice red color, and then is what I'm going to do. So I like grouping all my things together under here. So I'll have the kick, I'll have the sub bass right underneath that. And then what I'm going to do for these next tracks is I'm going to create 4 mid basses. Now, a lot of times I won't use all 4 of these mid basses, but it's nice to do the routing ahead of time. That way you have it ready to go when you're ready to do that. So instrument track, I'm just calling up silent in all these cases because it's low on the CPU and it's easy to load, but I've been using Spire a lot recently, so you don't have to do this. But notice how I'm leaving these all in their initialized patch. So even though there are mid basses that I like using sometimes in some of my same projects, I force myself to do it this way because the chance that I'll load that up versus maybe trying to find a new sound is very high if I do it this way. Whereas if I have it loaded with that sound already, this is just the way that I work, there's a good chance I would just kind of do it the way it was. So the thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these and I'm going to rename these as mid bass. I'll just rename that one, and I'm going to go ahead and select these guys and then go to color selected, and we're going to give this a gradient. And I like having my mid basses be kind of this kind of light blue color. So those get routed that way. In fact, this is me being really picky, but it's actually a little too dark. I don't want it that dark. In fact, maybe this sea green is a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. Okay, cool. So those are my mid basses there, the 4 of them. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mid bass. Actually, I shouldn't have done it that way. I should do it this way. So create this as an audio track, and this is mid bass audio. Cool. So that's going to get routed with these guys. So the thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to group all of these guys together in a bus track, and then this bus, there's going to be another bus over here. So this is the kick and bass bus. And not every producer does it this way, but this is the way I like to work. And I'm going to route the kick and the sub to this. And what I'm going to do is this is going to be my mid bass bus. So I can actually route these 5 channels here so that they all get routed here. And this is going to be the mid bass bus. And this, of course, gets routed to the kick and bass. So pretty much all the low end is coming out of this kick and bass bus, like so. And then just need to do Just rename these. And mid-bass audio. Great. And the other thing, of course, I can do is route them all under here, so that way I can collapse this. And what you'll see I'll do, so I'll delete all these patterns once I'm done, and I'll generally keep just the MIDI on this channel. So this will be mid basses. And this is going to be where I actually put the, you see where I'll actually put the MIDI for the mid basses on this channel. And usually I'll do it on the same pattern. That way I can see where the notes are using some stuff, and maybe I'll make a separate video on how I do that. Great, so we have that. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and move on to percussion. So I'm actually going to leave this open for routing, although it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to create some more instrument tracks for percussion. So we're going to do, this is going to be we're going to do our clap. We're going to do another one, which is going to be an open hat. Instrument track. We're going to have if I go over here to sampler, we're going to have closed hat. I'm probably going to add another closed hat. Track mode, instrument track, sampler. We're also going to put a ride in here. Now, I'm not going to put my snares in here because usually I'll use a snare roll separately under a rolls and fills category, so you won't see me doing that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some of these for, what was I going to say? These I'm going to make for loops, like for any of the drum loops, and I like using SliceX. That way, if I find any percussion loops or things, I can mangle them or resample any of the other stuff that I already have. So I believe that is under drum SliceX. So I'm going to go ahead and track mode, instrument track, drum SliceX. Instrument track, drum SliceX, and last but not least. Now, of course, the thing that I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to give myself way more than I would need, because FL's channel count isn't dynamically allocated, at least as I'm making this video. So there are 125 channels we have, and you'll see I'll get dangerously close to using up all of them. So doing it this way allows me not to have to create a new channel and change the way the routing is. So that's why I like having these extra. And some of the things I'll do is I'll add a U at the end of these additional channels that are unused. That way I know that I can delete it later if I so desire. So this is perc loop 1. It's going to be perc loop 2 unused, perc loop 3 unused, perc loop, sorry, this is 3 unused. This is actually 2. Helps if I count. Great, like this. And we'll go ahead and give these guys colors in a little bit, in a minute. So I like making these drums kind of red. So we're going to color selected. And I like kind of giving them this, I don't know, something like this. So you can see I'm kind of doing it this way. So these guys get their own colors, and then these loops, whoops. These loops I like making kind of like orange. So you'll see I'm going to go here, color selected, gradient, and I'll make these orange. Maybe a little darker. Boom. So it's kind of cool that way. Great. So this is all going to be, I'm going to kind of have this group here for all the percussion. There's going to be percussion. So this is going to have all the loops and percussion. Now, of course, this isn't the same as making a group channel for these guys. So that's the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bus here. It's going to be percussion. This is actually the loop bus. This is going to be a percussion and loops bus. And sometimes I'll have a separate insert channel here for these guys going into this percussion and loops bus. I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I think I'm just going to route them directly and then route this guy too. So all this stuff is feeding into this percussion and loops bus. And then the loops bus, of course, is separate in and of itself. Actually, you know what? I think I will set that up. So these guys are going to go here. This guy is going to go here. And this is the perc bus. So percussion, loops, and then the percussion and loops. And it's a good idea here. I like doing this, adding like a separator. We'll come back to what effects we're going to put on the insert channels. But the first thing I wanted to do is get all this stuff just kind of down and out and ready to go. So what I'm trying to do here is go somewhere in between these guys. Great. So that's all the percussion. There's all the mid basses. So next I'm going to move on to some of the more melodic elements that I'm going to have that I plan on having in the track. And this is like leads and plucks and things like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add. I'm actually going to use Spire for this because I like using Spire for leads and stuff. So I'm going to create 4 leads. Track mode, instrument track, Spire. Now, granted, I like using different synths for leads, just creating different sounds. You don't have to do it. It's just kind of fun when you have different synthesizers doing that. But I don't know, for me creating this template, I'm just going to be kind of basic here and create these 4 leads. So these are going to be the 4 leads, and then you're going to see I'm going to have a leads and a Plucks bus. The leads are going to be going into this leads bus. The Plucks are going to be going into their own bus, and then both of those together are going to be going into a lead and Pluck bus. So this is going to be an instrument track. So we're going to make the 4 Plucks. Now it'll be interesting, and you'll see this a lot of times once I have these routed. I'll have a lot of these folded because I'm not usually I'll use the same pattern and do all the layering on a single channel, and that's just kind of the way that I work. But I have these here just that way, so all the automation for any of these individually will show up in the same kind of area. So that's kind of why I'm doing it this way. So what I'm going to do here is let's just get these all routed and ready to go. So these first 4, this is going to be lead 1, lead 2 unused, lead 3 unused, lead 4 unused, and same thing with this, pluck 1 unused, pluck 2 unused. Actually, I'm going to take the U off of that. Pluck 3 unused. And last but not least, pluck 4 unused. So these plucks are going to be routed to this, which is going to be the pluck bus, which is then going to be routed to the lead and pluck bus. And of course, these leads are all going to be routed to this, which is the lead bus. And this is going to be routed to the lead and pluck bus also. So the leads going to the lead bus, plucks going to the pluck bus, and then both of these buses, which aren't going to have much processing at all, going into this leads and plucks bus, which will have like the processing that both of them are going through. And I'm just going to put a separator there to keep this organized from all the percussion and stuff. And yeah, that's what all this stuff is going to be. So yeah, now at this point, whoops, did not mean to do that. So I'm going to actually route all of these under this guy. And just kind of rearrange them so the leads are in the correct order. I don't know how they got out of order. Great, and going back here, we can take... How did you get out of order? Huh. Odd. Anyway, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33. Great, so we can take these guys and go ahead and give them a color. And I like having these leads be kind of like pinkish. So those are the leads, and then these plucks, I kind of give them a darker hue, like this. Like that. Great. So this is going to be leads and plucks all in one place. Next up is what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of have this place for auxiliary melodic stuff. So this is going to be like pianos, pads. Now these aren't going to be all bussed together except for all the pads will be. So this is just going to be, I'm just going to call this melodic stuff. And this will just be any of this additional stuff. So I'm going to probably have 4 pads I plan on but once again, I probably won't use all of those, but it's nice having them or being able to create an alternative if I want to have an alternative. Like I'm like, oh, I like this sound, but I don't want to delete it, but I want to maybe try swapping it out with something else. That's another good reason to have these additional things routed out. I probably should have done some of these as silent, because especially this computer can get just destroyed with using Spire too much with these pads. Anything with a bunch of polyphony is just going to destroy it. And then this is actually going to be a piano. So this is going to be an instrument track. And I want to do this as true keys. So I think I have this, yeah, true pianos. Fine. Sometimes I'll use it as FL as FL keys, but recently I've been liking that a lot. So cool. So true pianos got put there. It got given its own channel. Now is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to bring this over here, give this a separator so it's separate from all the leads and plucks. And here I'm going to create this as a pads bus. Helps if I spell it right. Oops. And route all of these pads to this channel and then give them names. So this is pad 1, pad 2, pad 3, and last but not least, pad 4. And we can come back over here and give these all a color. Color selected. I'm going to give this a gradient. So we're going to go with kind of a purple. Great. There they all go. All the pads are together. And the thing I forgot to do is note these last 3 as unused. So you can see when it comes to the uplifting trance, you're very easily going to run into your track limit. And that's why you got to be smart about routing. And that's why these, like if I have another clap, I'll add another clap, but I'll route it to the same channel, and sometimes even do some tricky stuff with patcher, because that's kind of what you end up having to do, just getting it set up that way. So keep that in mind. So that's all the melodic stuff. Actually, I'm going to add 2 more things. I'm going to add a Sylenth, and I'm going to add a Dune. And you'll see what these guys are. So what this is going to be is, this is going to be a sub pad. Give it its own icon. And this is going to be a, kind of the same thing. This is going to be a, except maybe slightly like that. This is going to be a sub lead. So I'm just going to have these guys ready in case I do use these. And I use those a lot of times in the breakdown and stuff. So that's there under the melodic stuff. So these actually are going to be routed to the master. So I'm going to create a separator, and sometimes I like saying RM, which just means routed to the master. So I'm just being clear to myself that these elements are being routed to the master channel as opposed to getting routed to anywhere else. And I am actually going to get rid of this icon. That way, hopefully these things will repopulate with the full names, but it's not that big of a deal. Cool. So now that we have that, what I like kind of having in this next section is having a group of, I like grouping the acids and atmospheres together, just kind of all in one place. Actually, I think I'll do it separately. I think I'll do all the acids in one place. So we're going to create space for 4 acids. So once again, this is the stuff that takes a lot of time to do, but when you only have to do it once, it's not that bad. Track mode, instrument track, and last but not least, Spire. These are going to be, so there's going to be acid 1, acid 2 unused, great. And if I go over here and do the same thing, I can give these a color. Now I like making these kind of this, like a nice green. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit, a little bit brighter. Great, so those guys get routed there. This is the acid bus. And I also like giving myself the opportunity, like we did with the mid basses, of having an acid audio bus. Just kind of having that option there for having audio. So this is an audio channel, whereas the other one are instrument channels. And I'm going to go ahead and bus all these together here. This is going to be the acid bus. And of course, like before, I'm going to create a separator so that all the acids can kind of get set there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is create an atmospheres. But actually, you know what? I'm going to do fills and rolls. So this is going to be, yeah, so that's what I'll do here. So track mode. So for using fills, sometimes I like chopping up the audio directly, or I like using SliceX. So I'll probably put 2 in. Instrument track, SliceX, so I can have 2. And then I'm going to do an audio track here. So this is going to be fill 1, fill 2. This is going to be audio. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do snare. This is going to be a snare roll. Now, sometimes I like using more than one snare. That just kind of depends what you're looking for. Actually, I shouldn't have done it this way. And this is going to also, there's going to be an instrument track with the sampler in it. Cool. So this is snare roll. And in fact, what I may do is I'll add another snare roll too, just that way in case I'm using 2. It doesn't matter because this is going to be same thing. Sampler. This is cool. So here the drum fills and then the snare rolls and things, I can have all that stuff here. And sometimes I like giving myself the option of having like an audio snare roll. I never do this, but I'm just going to do it anyway, just kind of for the sake of it. So audio track 53, this is going to be snare roll audio in case I want to use a sample, which I never do, but yeah. So yeah, snare roll 1, 2, and audio. This is going to be a snare roll bus, and then this is going to be a fill bus, which these fills are going to get routed to, and then these guys need to get routed to the snare roll bus. Cool. So now we can go back in here and give these guys a color. And is what I'm going to try to do is give it this sort of, this kind of in-between color, because it's kind of both its own percussion thing. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. Works for the fills, and then the snares, I'm actually going to make them red. Actually, shoot, I should have done this color. And snare roll audio. And this is fill audio. Great, so we got the snare rolls, the fills. The next thing I want to do is create a group. So this is fills and rolls. Now I like being able to collapse this because there's a good chance I'll move this up by the kick. And when I'm doing the kick rolls and stuff, I can kind of see those all together. But usually when I'm starting the track, I'm not doing anything with this, and I add that later. So the next thing I want to do is add a bus for atmospheres. And the atmospheres I use are traditionally almost all audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of audio tracks for having these atmospheres. Now, this is where you got to be really particular about creating a lot of space for yourself, because you can very easily take up all this space with all of your by thinking you're having enough room for stuff. And if you want your different samples with different processing on their own channels, then you can very much fill this up. And the last thing I'm going to do is I am going to create an instrument, just a basic instrument for atmospheres as well. So this is synth, and then this is, of course, So if you've listened to any of my tracks, like Sigma or anything like that, you'll see there's a lot of atmospheres that I use. So I like having that option. Now this won't actually color all of them together, unfortunately. Oh, it actually will. Just kidding. That's great. I didn't know that was going to happen. That's really nice. And I'll give that one a little bit darker. So this is all going to get routed to this atmosphere bus, and take all these and route them here. Now sometimes I also like having 2 additional auxiliary atmosphere tracks that are routed to the master, just in case I'm going to have any other weird processing on them. So let me go ahead and do that now. So these are going to be 2 audio tracks that are going to be, this is going to be Atmos, I guess, 8U RM. This 8 RM. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and do this. And I can tell very easily whether or not I've used these. Actually, let me just do that. There are these guys. So these guys are actually going to be routed directly to the master channel and not to this atmospheres bus that I have here. So yeah, that's the case there. So the next thing, so we got to make sure these guys all get bussed to the atmospheres bus. Now in live, if you look at my template in live, you'll see I have atmospheres and acids together. Whoops. Great. So those are all going to be here. Fantastic. All the atmospheres. Now generally I like giving these guys some colors too. This is melodic stuff, so we'll give this kind of its own color. Acids bus. Just kind of to just to kind of be consistent, I guess. Actually, this one should probably be a little lighter. There we go. Okay, cool. Let me change my mind. There we go. Okay, that's fine. Okay, this was bugging me. Cool. So last but not least, I want to have a spot for all the effects that I plan on having. So that's what I need to leave some room for as well. So this is going to be like a place where I'm going to have, you know, risers, crashes, things like that. Now, usually you'd think crashes and stuff, those are going to get put up with the percussion, but I like layering crashes with the sweeps. So that's kind of why I leave so much room for these down at the bottom. So what I'm going to do here is I like just using these directly with audio. So we're going to do these as audio tracks. Just like this. So I'm giving myself room for 3 forward crashes and 2 reverse crashes. So this is going to be crash 1, crash 2U, cool. And this is going to be inside of a crash bus. So all these guys get routed here. And whoops. They're all going to get their own color. Like so. So these are going to be all the crash symbols. Now, just kind of the way that I work, I like having sweeps in this same category. So those are all also going to be here too. So this is going to be like crashes and sweeps. So I want to leave myself room for 3 downlifters, maybe 4 uplifters or risers, and then maybe a synth riser or something like that. So once again, a lot of times I'm using audio here, and this is why I like having the effects at the end, because generally this is where I'm going to be adding anything additional to this as well. If there's any other sorts of things I want to add or any vocals or something like that. So yeah, we'll do maybe Yeah, a lot. And then this is going to be, last but not least, an instrument track. And I'm just going to use silent for now, but that's going to be like a synth riser. So let's just call this the effects bus, and we'll just go ahead and route all of this stuff directly to the effects bus. Cool. So that's all going to be here, and then this is going to be down sweep 1. I should actually just do this DS1, DS2U, 3U, and this is going to be DS4 RM. So this is a sweep that's routed to the master instead of this bus. Actually, no, I'm going to route it to the bus. Doesn't matter. I can do any processing of that. Now we're going to do all the upsweeps. So upsweeps 1, upsweep 2. We're going to have riser 1. So my upsweeps and risers are actually different. I don't usually need more than 2, but if I need to add them, I can. So this is in this crashes and sweeps bus. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And let's go ahead and just color these guys. And I kind of like giving them this sort of olive color. I can also do this sea green, but I kind of use some of these for acids. Let me just do the sea green, actually. I like that. And that's actually a little too dark for my taste. Whoops. Some of that problem may be in, I know why that looks like that, and I don't like it, because view, colorful mixer off. No, I do like that. Huh. It's like super high contrast. I am going to change this color. There it is. Great. That's a lot better. So yeah, you can see the acids, these guys, everything pretty much are routed and ready to go. So these are all the sweeps and crashes. Sometimes I'll create a separate, almost a separate bus for these guys, because like for some of these things, like these risers and stuff, because you don't want to have them all in the same, like this can get too crowded. But that's always good to have, especially with the fills and rolls. So maybe I'll put the atmospheres on the bottom. And sometimes I'll put the acids at the bottom, because I'll generally take care of this stuff first before I go ahead and go back into doing all this. So now that we have this, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to delete all of these because I don't need them, and there still can be a pattern there. And that's kind of where I'm going to kind of draw the line in terms of what it is that I want to do. Now, generally what I like also doing is docking these three these as sends. Now, I don't always use them, but what I like doing is having a kind of a big reverb. This is like a big reverb and a stereo delay. Sorry, not a stereo. Yeah, like I guess it's like a big bouncy delay. And then this one I leave open as kind of an extra auxiliary channel in case I want to use it. So the reverbs I always have as blue, and delays I always have as green, and then this guy can just be chilling. So I actually didn't end up using as many tracks as I was expecting to use. A lot of times I'll have more percussion elements and stuff. One thing I forgot to do, and let me go ahead and do this right now, is I usually like to have an auxiliary percussion thing that I use for, well, auxiliary percussion. And I like using, you can use FPC. I like using this plugin from New Sonic Arts called Nuance. And I'm going to put that here. And this is why you do this early, because otherwise if you're trying to add these new channels in like this, you have to go all the way across and do all the routing. So, and this is just going to be auxiliary percussion, like so. And I'm going to give this a color. That's fine. A little darker is fine. Great. So this is the basic track routing that we have. And in the next videos, what I'm going to do is start adding insert effects to all of these, just so that way they're in a position that we can start using to mix. See you then.